A very good morning. Welcome to the Market Watch section of Financial Markets. I'm your presenter, Victor Chiberu, as of today. So we have a lot to go through with what went down in yesterday's trading session, especially with the Uganda Securities Exchange as well as the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We're yet to see the top gainers and the bottom losers. We want to understand how the indices behaved in the previous trading session, and also to know how investors are reacting to this kind of movement. But going straight into the figures for the Uganda Securities Exchange, we would want to see what went down in the previous trading session. And according to the numbers, we saw a total of 3,429,734 shares, corresponding to a market value of about 1,202,497,340 Ugandan shillings. So the current market capitalization stands at a staggering 20.5 trillion Ugandan shillings. So in aggregate, we are looking at 3 Uganda securities listed equities participating in the trading, and we ended with about 6 gainers and 2 losers. So looking at the top gainers, we saw East African breweries coming in fast, leading the gainers with 1.51% share price appreciation. It closed at about 4,177.29 per share. It was followed by Kenya Airways, and Kenya Airways saw an appreciation of 0.62%, and Nation Media Group also came up within the top gainers with a 0.34% share price appreciation. Jubilee Holdings also showed some movement yesterday with a 0.2% share price appreciation. Now we are looking at East African breweries showing us performance, and yesterday we had no movement from East African breweries at all. So you can see how volatile these markets can get. Kenya Airways has also been on the charts for this week, and we are looking at 111.49 Kenyan shillings per share. It appreciated by 0.62%, and we're seeing some remarkable movement right there. We're also seeing Nation Media Group with that 0.34% share price appreciation, leaving their share price at 522.52. Jubilee Holdings also didn't have any movement as of yesterday, but we are seeing a 0.20% appreciation, leaving their share price at 5,217.97. Also, looking at all this performance, we are also not going to miss the fact that these are also cross-listed equities. So we are yet to understand how the performance of these equities has been brought to this point, and where the Nairobi Securities Exchange has impacted this kind of movement. But shifting our focus to the losers side, we saw KCB Group coming in with a share price depreciation of 1.93%. Centum Investment also showed us a 0.54 share price depreciation, and those two were the losers on the Uganda Securities Exchange as of yesterday. And looking at the highest volume of traded shares, Umeme came in first with 2.14 million traded shares, followed by MTN Uganda with 1.29 million shares, and Airtel Uganda with 900. But looking onto this list, we're also seeing British African Tobacco Uganda still standing at 15,000 Ugandan shillings per share. Bank of Baroda didn't show any movement as of yesterday, which is also quite surprising, but the share price still stands at 19.50. We are looking at Centum Investments also, which was in the losers side, but the share price stands at 248.60. DFCU Bank also stands at 225 Ugandan shillings per share. East African Breweries is at 4,000. Equity Bank Limited is at 1,270. Jubilee Holdings stands at 5,217. Kenya Airways at 111.49. KCB Group at 1,005.75. MTN Uganda with the share price still stands at 170.15, but we recorded a trading volume of 1,293,200. And according to the data in comparison to yesterday, it is an appreciation of about 0.15. National Insurance Corporation has a share price that still stands at 5.59, and Nation Media Group is at 522. We have New Vision that is also at 153. Quality Chemical Industries, which just switched from Cipla, has its share price standing at 55 Ugandan shillings per share. Stanbic Bank is at 37.50, and Uganda Clays is also still standing at 12 Ugandan shillings per share. Actually, Uganda Clays has been in that position for quite a while, and it is also worth noting that you have to go deeper into company information to understand what strategy is being laid in terms of the shares and the performance of the company on the security exchange. We're also looking at Umeme that showed movement with 2.1 million in terms of traded volume. And the share price stands at 460 Ugandan shillings per share. We haven't seen any change from yesterday, but we're still seeing some steady progress within Umeme. So we're yet to see what is going to go down by the start of next week. But moving on to the Uganda Securities Exchange market indices, we're starting with the All Share Index, which actually paired by 0.03 points to close at about 1,058.91. This was representing a one-week loss of 0.27%, a four-week loss of 0.6%, but an overall year-to-date gain of 21.37%. Now, the local company index, on the other hand, is actually increased by 0.03%, reaching 263.48 points to close. This was making a one-week loss of 0.05% and a four-week loss of 0.36%, as well as a year-to-date loss of 3.08%. Now, these indices have actually not performed well as of yesterday, and we're yet to see how this week is going to end. But the local companies are not showing any progress compared to the All Share Index, and we know that this movement on the All Share Index is caused by the cross-listed equities and their response to the current political environment of East Africa, particularly within Nairobi, and what is going on with about the financial bill that is yet to be put in place. But we would also want to go straight forward to the Nairobi Securities Exchange to see what went down all through yesterday, and going straight into the numbers, we're seeing at the end of the trading session as of yesterday, we're looking at a total of 21,744.5 shares in about 949 deals, corresponding to a market value of 373 about 0.134 in the previous trading session. But we want to understand how these numbers came about, and we'll do that after a short break. We'll come back with more about the Nairobi Securities Exchange, as well as more financial news within the East African financial environment.
Smart 24, driving business.
The Apple Watch has been a huge success for the company, pretty much trying up the wearables sector at the first attempt. With 2023 well underway, we are looking forward to seeing what Apple will do with the next generation of its digital timepiece. So here's all the news, rumors we have discovered about the Apple Watch Series 9, as well as our expectations for the new device. It seems highly unlikely that Apple will change the cadence this year, so we expect the Apple Watch Series 9 to launch at an Apple event in September 2023. The two loudest voices among Apple Watches, Mark Gurman of Bloomberg and analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, both say Apple is planning to release a second-gen Apple Watch Ultra in the fall. One thing we know for sure about the Apple Watch Series 9 is that it will ship the Watch OS 10. This means you can expect a few new watches, possibly a couple that are exclusive to the new model and a new feature or two. We expect that Watch OS 10 will be available for download around September 8th. It will be available to install on Apple Watch Series 4 and the newest. The Apple Watch Series 9 isn't expected to be a major upgrade over the 2022 models. According to a tweet from Mark Gurman in April 2023, the Apple Watch Series 9 upgrades will be anything but major, with new model poised for a more modest year. But even without major changes, there are still several possible new features that would make the Apple Watch Series 9 a worthy upgrade. No changes are expected for the Apple Watch Series 9 design. However, some changes may be coming to the design of the Apple Watch Ultra that are likely to eventually make their way down to a later Apple Watch model. One upcoming change coming to the Apple Watch Ultra could be to the screen size. A DigiTimes report back in February suggested that the Ultra screen size could increase from 1.9 inches to 2.1 inches. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman has also predicted that a next generation Apple Watch will get a larger display, but this may not happen in 2023, instead being a feature of the 2024 watch or even later. Gurman wrote in early April that April will be a planning and major update month to watch the hardware in 2024, and he completed by saying this will be a custom built display. See you on the next Tech Bite.
Amanya Amazima gange nze Nasoro Jamida nvira mu Kalaji era nga ndi beka mbekinga amandazi, donuts ne daddies, mbadde mbekinga ne cakes era nga maze mu weeks 2 nga traininga wano nyongeddeko obukugu kubanga mbadde nyina skills ezimu ze mbadde sirina ng'okubekinga emigaati mbadde sikimanyi, mbadde simanyi kwayisinga cake, how to manage a business, manya nti ebizibu by'aba customer, how to find a market, mbadde sibimanyi byonna, nzuula nti akatale we kali naye mbiyize mu weeks zino 2 ze mmaze nga ndi mu training eno. Waliwo mukwano gwange yali amanyi nti mbekinga era nga akola mu stroke, ye yankubira essimu ng'ali mu kuwandiika abajja okutraininga, nankubira essimu nange ne bampandiika ne bampita n'enzija. Obubaka bwe nnyina eri project ya GROW nti okututraininga tukuguse era naye tubuzaamuko ka GROW capital, tubulamuko ka capital kubanga twetaaga okuba ne machines naye tetusobola kwetuusaako machines nga bizinesi zaffe tukyayingiza omutwalo gumu ewiiki. Tubadde tubulamu ka capital tusobole okwongera ku nnyingiza yaffe, tusobole okukola ki we tunayongeza ku nnyingiza kitegeeza tujja kuba tusobola okugula machines. Obubaka bwempa abantu abaliko obulemu naddala ba vision, omuntu bw'atunuulira omuntu aliko obulemu naddala obw'amaaso alowooza tasobola kufumba, of which si kituufu. Mulekerawo okwenyooma, musituke, mukolere wamu, tuleme kufuuka mugugu eri abo abantu be tubeera nabo.
GROW, generating growth opportunities and productivity for women enterprises.
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from that short break, but to proceed from where we stopped, we were looking through the Nairobi Securities Exchange and we wanted to understand how it went down in the previous session and also how the performance of the different companies that are cross-listed on both the Uganda Securities Exchange and the Nairobi Securities Exchange have been affected by the financial environment, the political and financial environment that is within the East African community. But going back to the figures, we were looking at a market value of about 373,134,000 Kenyan shillings, and that is what was traded as of yesterday. Comparing this data with the previous day, we were seeing about a 3% improvement in the volume, and we're seeing a 20% decline in turnover as well as a 24% decline in the deals. But the current market capitalization still stands at 1.79 trillion Kenyan shillings. So in aggregate, we were looking at about 44 Nairobi Securities Exchange listed equities participating in the trade, and we ended with 17 gainers as well as 18 losers. Now, East African breweries led the gainers on the Nairobi Securities Exchange as well, with an 8.91% share price appreciation. It closed at about 152 Kenyan shillings per share. It was followed by I&M Holdings with a share price appreciation of 4.39%. Unga Group also showed a share price appreciation of 4.2%, as well as Captura Tea Company with a 2.07% appreciation. Now, it is also striking to see that East African breweries led the gainers as of yesterday and led the gainers as of today, and it's leading the gainers on the Uganda Securities Exchange as well. I&M Holdings hasn't shown any movement the whole of this week, so it is also intriguing to see that they made a movement as of yesterday. Their share price stands at 21.40 Kenyan shillings, and we are looking at a 4.39% appreciation. Unga Group also didn't show any performance in the previous trading session, but we are looking at a 4.20% share price appreciation. Captura Tea Company also giving us a 2.07 share price appreciation, closing at 259 Kenyan shillings per share. We're also seeing KNRE with a 1.09 share price appreciation, closing at 2.79 share price. But looking on to the losers side, Nairobi Business Ventures came out last in the previous trading session with a share price depreciation of 9.88%. closing at 2.19 Kenyan shillings per share. It was followed by BK Group with a 9.36 share price depreciation, that is in percentage, and Longhorn Publishers with a 6.1 share price depreciation, 6.1% share price depreciation. Samir Africa also showed a 5.31 share price 1.31% share price depreciation. Now, seeing the Nairobi Business Ventures leading the bottom losers is also worth looking into, because we have been receiving some interesting news from this entity throughout the week, and want to understand what is going on behind the walls of this company to understand how the share price has declined in just a matter of hours. BK Group declined also largely with a 9.36% share price depreciation, which is quite a big movement. But we're yet to see how the trading session of today closes, because this week can close while all the bottom losers have shifted to the top gainers. So as an investor, it is worth noting that you're supposed to keep a vigilant eye on your investments in these companies, because anything can change in just a matter of hours. Cooperative Bank of Kenya recorded the highest volume of traded shares, coming in with a 7.4 million traded shares, and it was followed by Safaricom with a 6.46 million traded shares. I&M Holdings also showed a 1.63 million traded shares, and Kenya Reinsurance Corporation with 1.19 million. But looking into other companies, Absa Bank Kenya PLC has its share price still standing at 13.90 with a share price depreciation of 0.15. Bamburi Cement also went up by 1%, leaving its share price at 43 Kenyan shillings. British American Tobacco Kenya also went up by 0.50%. BK Group, as we have seen, also showed an improvement. The Commercial Bank of Kenya also showed no movement as of yesterday, leaving its share price at 86 Kenyan shillings per share. Britam Holdings also went up by a 0.3, leaving its share price at 6 Kenyan shillings per share. East African Cables Limited went up by a 0.02, leaving its share price at 0.98. We're looking at Kabasid Investments that also went down by a 0.20 and leaving its share price at 17.80 as of yesterday. Car General Kenya didn't show any movement, but we're seeing CIC Insurance Group Limited showing us an appreciation of 0.02. Cooperative Bank of Kenya Limited also went down by a 0.05, and Crown Paints didn't show any movement as of yesterday. Centum didn't show any movement as well, but it had trading volume which was 39,700. Diamond Trust Bank Kenya went up by 0.50, leaving the share price at 46.50. East African Breweries Limited also didn't show any movement as of yesterday, but EGADS also right below it didn't show any movement. Equity Group Holdings, on the other hand, went down by 0.10, and it left the share price at 43.40 Kenyan shillings per share. Everyday East Africa didn't show any movement as of yesterday. Flame Tree Group also didn't show any movement, but ABSA New Gold ETF has its share price at 2,920 as of now. Home Africa also didn't show any movement, but had trading volume of about 200, and Homeboys Entertainment also showed about 4.6 in terms of their share price. But HF Group Limited also left the share price at 4.22, but looking at the numbers, we saw an appreciation as of yesterday of 0.27. IM Holdings also, as we saw, had an improvement of 0.10 as of yesterday. Now, Jubilee Holdings also didn't show any movement, and it left the share price at about 180 as of yesterday. Capturity also didn't show anything as of yesterday. We are looking at KCB Group that showed an appreciation of 0.25, and that was as of yesterday. We saw trading volume from them as well, which was about 10,300 shares in terms of trading volume. But bottom losers on the Nairobi Securities Exchange as of yesterday also worth looking into. Longhorn Publishers has been taking over the publishing industry in Nairobi for a while, and would want to understand what has led to this 6.1% decrease. And looking into other bottom losers, Samir Group, after not showing any progress throughout the week, has showed us a 5.31 decrease in terms of share price. But we will see how today's trading session goes about, and it might give us a clearer image of how these companies expect to get out of this situation. But moving into other important financial news on the East African financial markets, we're looking at the IMF approving over $900 million to new funding that is supposed to be directed to Tanzania. And this is also worth noting that this amount is supposed to be of a very, very large impact to the development of the country's financial environment. But the IMF said as of yesterday, and its executive board approved funding for Tanzania of $786.2 million to help tackle climate change, while also completing a separate review allowing for the disbursement of $149.4 million for budget support. Now, Tanzanian authorities are committed to continue implementing reforms to preserve macro financial stability, to strengthen economic recovery, and to promote sustainable and inclusive growth. And the International Monetary Fund said all of this in their most recent statement. So in the last 3 years, President Samia Suluhu Hassan's administration has undertaken various economic reforms with ambitions to return the country's economic growth to the pre-pandemic real gross domestic product growth, which was about 6 to 7% before that period. So Tanzania's economic reform program remained strong, and the IMF said, adding that economic growth rebounded in 2023 after slowing down in 2022. So the current account deficit is narrowing, and it is reflecting fiscal consolidation, which is actually easing commodity prices and tight external financing conditions, and that is from a point of view from IMF itself. But while the economic recovery is actually expected to gain momentum going forward, the IMF noted that it is actually facing headwinds from unfavorable global economic environments, and Tanzanians' economy will actually rely on tourism, mining, agriculture and manufacturing, and this has actually remained resilient in the face of back-to-back extreme weather events as well as climate change. So this was all driven by a surge in the services sector, and that was according to a report coming in from the World Bank. So the economy is forecast to accelerate to 5.4% this calendar year, up to 5.1% in 2023, and the Minister of State in the President's Office for Planning and Investment made this statement, known as Chitila Nkumbo, and he made this statement last week. So seeing that a headline like this is coming in by the end of this week shows promising improvements from a plan coming in from a plan like this coming in from the IMF for East African financial markets. But another headline is the companies, the banks that are collapsing in Nairobi. Two Kenyan banks currently are collapsing, and they're facing winding up. So the Ari and Resilience banks in Kenya, worth 3.5 million and 11.58 million dollars in loans, and that is within liquidation respectively. So the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation is set to wind up two collapsed lenders, Ari Bank and Reliance Bank, serving the last rites for the institutions under liquidation for decades now. So the winding up of the process is dissolving. The winding up of a process, just to break it down for you, is actually dissolving a business by liquidating its stock to pay creditors and distributing any remaining of these assets to shareholders. But on Thursday, the institution actually requested proposals on the provision of legal and audit services for the winding up of these banks. And Ari Bank Corporation Limited has been in liquidation since December 5th of 1997 and has had about 287,000 Kenyan shillings, which is about 2,238 US dollars in total deposits. So at the end of June 2020, we saw a report coming in from the institution that it had paid 55% of the institution's protected deposits, which is about 6,000 Kenyan shillings, from a pool of 11,000 Kenyan shillings, which is about 85.8 US dollars in protected deposits. So similarly, the institution disclosed that the payment of about 45 million Kenyan shillings insured depositors and creditors at the end of the same period. But that has been all from the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and we're yet to see more coming in from the financial markets and how they're going to react to these headlines coming in. We also have something coming in from China about the funding of these oil projects in East Africa, and how the East African governments and the finance ministries are to share these funds to make sure that they do what they are supposed to be done, and also to avoid captive by investors, which has been happening a lot within the East African financial markets. But that has been all coming in from the analysis part of financial markets and also the financial market news. We're yet to see more as the day goes by, and obviously we shall be here on Monday, same time, to analyze the changes within the East African financial markets and how investors are supposed to use this resource of news to understand how they should invest their money in these different entities. I have been Victor Chiberu for today, and we will see you next week.